6 months before the trains came. Someone in an NKVD office already had your name written down, not because of what you'd done, but because of what you might become. This is the story of how the Soviet Union erased a generation of Bessarabians twice. Once in 1941, once again in 1949, and the second time they made sure no one could ever go home. After the Red Army occupied Bessarabia in June 1940, the NKVD didn't start with tanks or arrests. It started with paperwork. Local informants were recruited. Neighbors were asked to report on neighbors. Every denunciation became a line in a growing list, sorted by profession, by wealth, by loyalty to the old Romanian administration. Priests, teachers, mayors, gendarmes, landowners. Anyone capable of holding a community together was a target, because the goal wasn't punishment. It was dismantling an identity.
The operation had a name behind it. NKVD General Sergo Goglitsa, one of its chief organizers,
personally requested that 5,000 families be moved to the far north and east of the Soviet Union. The legal cover came from a May 1941 regulation on deporting certain categories of criminals. Categories broad enough to include almost anyone the state wanted gone. On June 7, 1941, the NKVD requisitioned 1,315 railway cars. Not for soldiers. For families who didn't yet know they'd been chosen. 5 days later, at 2:30 in the morning, the knock came.
In the night of June 12 to 13, 1941,
roughly 32,000 people across Bessarabia and northern Bukovina were pulled from their homes. Just over 6,000 were arrested outright. The rest, over 26,000, were loaded onto cattle cars bound for Siberia and Kazakhstan. They had minutes to pack. Most took what they could carry and left everything else to the men writing inventories of their own homes. 10 days later, Germany invaded the Soviet Union. The deportation trains kept moving anyway. For the survivors, the sentences ranged from 10 to 25 years in labor camps. Some never made it that far. Those judged undesirable weren't tried at all. A bullet to the back of the head was faster. 8 years later, the Soviets came back. Endsis time they'd learned 41.
the legal justification for Operation South, launched on the night of July 5th to 6th, 1949,
was almost absurd. A 1941 decree had retroactively made Bessarabians Soviet citizens, which meant that surviving under Romanian administration during the war could now be labeled treason.
11,293 families, nearly 36,000 people, 9,864 men, 14,033 women,
almost 12,000 of them children. 7,620 of those families were labeled Koloks, wealthy peasants. The rest were accused of collaborating with fascists, belonging to banned parties or practicing outlawed religions. But here's what made 1949 different and worse. A special decision from Moscow declared that these deportees could never return home. Not after 10 years. Not after 25. Never. Word of the coming operation spread in whispers beforehand. enough that fear alone pushed thousands of independent farmers to abandon their land and join collective farms before the trains even arrived. The threat did the regime's work before a single person was deported. But 1941 and 1949 weren't the end. On April 1st, 1951, at 4 in the morning, the Soviets came a third time. And this time for different. Not politics, not property. Faith. 723 families, 2,617 people were arrested in a single day. All with one thing in common: they were Jehovah's Witnesses. The charges, on paper, sound almost bureaucratic, spreading rumors that Soviet power would collapse, refusing military service, agitating against collectivization, or simply staying home on election day. Nearly 1,950 soldiers were mobilized to arrest fewer than 3,000 civilians. By evening, the operation was already over. That same night, across the wider Soviet Union, 5,917 Jehovah's Witnesses were deported. From Moldova, Ukraine, Belarus, and the Baltics, all on the same night. It was the only time in Soviet history an entire religious minority was deported purely for what they believed. It would take 38 years, until April 10, 1989, for the Soviet government to formally rehabilitate them. Today, the lists still exist. Moldova's National Archives have published them online, station by station, family by family. You can search the exact railway platform where a specific family boarded, and trace, in some cases, whether they ever arrived at all. Survivors gave the 1949 transports a grim nickname for a reason. Doors locked from the outside, no facility. Journeys that could stretch for weeks. Among the transport records, children born in cattle cars. Somewhere between Bessarabia and Siberia on a journey that lasted weeks. Since 1989, Moldova has passed more than 20 separate laws trying to address what was taken. Once in Siberia, most deportees were assigned to forced labor logging, mining, or state farms, often for over a decade. Today, descendants scattered across Moldova, Romania, and the diaspora used these same archives to rebuild family trees erased in a single night. Some found their family's name on a list for the first time only after 1991, when the archives finally opened. Between 1940 and 1953, 3 separate waves of deportation swept through this region. 1,941, 1949. And a third wave in 1951 that targeted religious communities. No one has ever established an exact total. Estimates run into the hundreds of thousands. But an operation this size didn't run itself. Most of the men who wrote those lists, filled those quotas, and signed those orders lived out ordinary lives afterward. No trial, no headline, no reckoning. It needed thousands of people to write those lists, load those trains, and guard those platforms. 3 operations, 3 different reasons to disappear. 1941, for who you were before the Soviets arrived. 1949, for simply having survived under someone else's rule. 1951, for what you believed and nothing else. Different targets, same machine, same trains. So, how many of them were ever held accountable? The lists are public. The question isn't, tell me what you think below. Was this bureaucratic efficiency or something closer to erasure? The lists are public. The question isn't. Tell me what you think below.